Hey, come catch this wave with the Fixx squad. The Fixx is in. I'm Mr. Soul, I'm tuning in. What you doing?
Stand up. James left, but the king still reigns here. No tears, no love lost, no rain here. Delivers, I promise, Santa rain here. Love for the city still resides here. Fix for your ailment, faith that resides outside the lines. Detox your mind, cause it matters. Art outside the box, we pace better. The Fixx is in, and we rock a channel. We rock with them for what's deep within. Expose those who talk but don't live. Expose those who talk but don't live. Take offense. Judge by the fruit from the tree, but if the fruit tastes...
Welcome back, DJ Focus. You're tuned back into the Fixx, your source for faith-infused hip-hop, R&B, and poetry, right here on SiriusXM Channel 154, Holy Culture Radio. And it's time for our spiritual detox. And listen, we in for a treat today. Every now and then you come across, somebody super talented that does multiple things. So listen, this man I got on the line right now, man, he's a vet in the game. Let's be very clear. I love a lot of things he's doing. One, he speaks to man empowerment, encouraging men. He actually he's the founder of the Man Up Club. And he's also the founder of the God Flow Hip Hop and Hope Festival. And he's also a super talented artist too as well. So listen, without further ado, let me welcome in my brother, Cross. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? It's a pleasure to be here on your show. How are you?
Man, I'm good. Like I say, man, I don't take that. I don't say them things just to say them. I've been watching you move for a while. You've been a mover and shaker in the industry for a while. You and your wife, y'all got good names. Yeah, everybody knows who y'all are. So I don't know if you know it or not, but believe me, we watching your whole household, brother.
Wow. Well, you know what?
Yes.
We just try to keep our head down, man, and stay on the grind.
Yeah, y'all grinding.
Yeah.
Forgive me, producer too as well. I got to give him his producing bag too as well because he do that too as well. We got a lot to talk about, man. A little time. Let's get to it. First, share a little bit of your faith journey with the people. You know, how you develop your own personal relationship with Christ.
Man, for me, I grew up, around a gospel family, in the South. My grandmother had like 16 kids, man, and they used to all sing gospel music. We would have these little talent shows around the crib, man, with all them people. And I really wasn't a singer. And so obviously the family was a faith-based family. And so, I would just rap. And so that's how I ended up starting doing gospel rap, like way back in the day. But then, I grew up, man. I went to college, played football, Division I football, and, went to school. And then even after school, though, I still get out of them streets in California, man, and got to hustling and doing all kind of crazy things. And believe it or not, bro, I was in a strip club when God really called me and when I really had the true relationship with God. Like I was in the club, I was tipping the girls, and the Lord just spoke to me, man. He was like, "Are you happy?" I mean, when God speaks, He speaks clear, He speaks quick, and it's precise, but it cuts. And so, when I just responded to that, the answer was no, I'm not. And so when I said no, man, it was, tears just kind of started to roll, man, because I recognized that I wasn't out my purpose. And so from there, man, I just decided that, I would get on the grind. And it was a simple conversation and short and sweet. It was just like, hey, everything that you're doing in the gangster rap scene and out here on the streets, you need to be focusing and building up the kingdom of God. And so from there, man, that's how my true journey started. And that's when I started my Christian hip hop label, which is One Way Entertainment, and then just start grinding on that side for myself.
That's amazing. I appreciate you sharing that story too as well. The listeners, they know when they come here, that's one thing, they'll get something authentic. So when you talk about submitting to God, like that's powerful. Speak a little bit more to it, because I think the listeners need to hear. I feel you. You're in the strip club. God can, kind of gave you that conviction or gave you that revelation. I got more for you to do, son. But you submitted to it.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing. I would argue a lot of people get revelation, but they don't submit to it. What made you say, what, enough is enough? I'm going to do what God called me to do.
Well, for me, it was, like I said, it was a heart check. You got to analyze yourself. When God calls you, it's about self introspection and analyzing yourself and kind of like the scriptures say, search yourself over. And so that's what I did. And I found out, that really I wasn't living in my purpose, man. And so I I had a studio in California, man. I got in my studio, I got on my knees, and I was just like, God, if you're real, I want you to fill me with your Holy Spirit. And that was a personal thing. That was just me and him one-on-one. Wasn't at no altar, wasn't at no church. And he done it, man. And he keep it 100 with you, man. I think I probably passed out for about 10, 15 minutes, man, just slaying what they call slaying in the spirit if we talking, spiritual
Yes.
language. But when I came to, man, I was just like, okay, I'm made new. I'm different. And so I left all my stuff in California, man, and moved back to Minnesota. And then God put me on lockdown for about a year. And when I say lockdown, I'm talking about, I didn't go out. I didn't go outside a lot. I was full off the word. Being a new Christian and getting fed and having a lot of zeal, man. And so for me, I just wanted to eat the word. And so I stayed in the house for about a year, and I did that. And I didn't go to clubs. I didn't even listen to hip hop music, as a matter of fact. And just studied scripture, man, and just kind of got deep in my word and had some spiritual advisors or what have you that spoke into my life. And then as I was getting, and that's really what the true discipleship is. And so as I was getting discipled, man, God just spoke to me. He was like, "Yo, it's time." And I'm like, "Okay, what does that mean?" He's like, "It's time to, take the mantle." And obviously at that time, Christian hip hop wasn't really that popular, and so
Right.
you had to bear two crosses. You had to really be the person. Not You couldn't just come up in churches and rap in churches. You had to educate pastors and clergy on why, number one, why is not the devil's music out of all people. But then
Right.
at the same time, you had to be able to be articulate in the streets so they could understand, like, okay, well, why you ain't in church with your message. So, it's a balancing act. And so I've done that for many years, man. And until, I really got the confidence and the calling that God was having on my life, to truly walk it out without having any affirmations or pats on the back, and just knowing that you're called, to what exactly it is that you're called to, because it takes a lot to walk out a calling, especially if you don't have people that are there encouraging you. And it's a different kind of walk.
No, that's real. So speak about that encouragement. How did your family perceive you? I don't know. Were you married at the time? Did you have kids? Like, how did your family perceive you when you said, you know what, I got to move, I got to transition? What was their first thoughts?
Well, I was hustling with family, some of my family, and so naturally they wasn't happy about it because that meant less money. They meant a different lifestyle, and so,
Wow.
I had to have some hardships there and had to, break away from, a few family members, man, and it was a little different, because they were super close. You feel me? But because we were going in the same direction, we felt like we was close. But you really only know how close you are to a person when you start moving in a different direction.
Facts.
So it was that perspective. But then at that time, I was not married. But my girlfriend, who's my wife now, she was holding me down while I was in that life. And part of that transformation was, when God called me, He allowed me to see some things a little bit more clearer. And one of them, was, my relationship. And so, I asked my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, to marry me. And thank God that she did. And she'd been riding with me from day one. And, we've been married for 21 years now. And so, yeah, it was different. I mean, some family accepted it, and then some different, some didn't. But the ones who did, man, those were the ones who was there for me. And obviously, you understand that, your family is your first ministry. So I started to focus on my wife and my kids when it came to the gospel. And fast forward to today, there's a lot of things going on as far as family, because as you mentioned, my wife is very supportive. She's Grammy nominated for spoken word. But then all of my
Mm.
kids, they're all into, they're all, prolific Christian hip hop artists.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, speak about your kids a little bit. I think I know who they are, but speak about your kids a little bit and what they're doing too as well, and then how did you impact some of their decisions with even getting into music?
Yeah, it's interesting because my oldest son, KJ, which is who a lot of people know, because I started him out when he was about 11 years old, and he rocked with me for about 10 years, and I took him all around the country and what have you. So KJ was the first one, and to make music with me and kind of pick up the gift and take it and run with it. And so he done that at such an early age, and he done it for about 10 years. And then, at 21, he started going into, a different career field and what have you. Which is fine, and that's respectable, and so he had his run, and he may not be done yet because me and him just connected here recently. But then his younger brother and sister, which is Titus and Selena. They both are
Hmm.
prolific hip hop artists, and have careers in their own right. And Titus had never really wanted to get into it, man, because he was more of an engineer behind the scenes, and he engineered for KJ and he engineered for me. And so he learned that technical aspect, of the ministry and the business. And Selena came into it as a female artist, and she just came out of the blue. Nobody saw it coming, and she was just like, "Yo, Dad, I want to do what you do. I want to rap, for the Lord. I want to impact my generation." And so we put her through the fire, because obviously we didn't just want her doing it just because we was doing it. And it wasn't a lot of females that was in it, but she proved to be called to it. And so both of them were, and then Titus later on decided that he wanted to actually step to the forefront and start doing music. So they made albums, man. Like, so Selena probably has 3 or 4 albums in her own right. Titus has 3 or 4 albums in his own right. But then beyond that, they decided to come together as brother and sister. And technically, they are the first hip hop duo that's brother and sister, which is when they're known as Sis and Lil Bro. And now they're really, they're moving and shaking, and God is elevating them, and they're doing their thing. And right now they're touring. They've just been featured in the #1 hit BET series TV show Kingdom Business, and so they grinding, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Shouts out to Sis and Lil Bro. I've interviewed with them too as well. I knew that. I just wanted you to share with their listeners.
For sure.
Listen, men are still having an impact on their kids. That's why I wanted you to share that, because
Absolutely.
we hear so much in the Black culture that men are not in the household, men not around their kids. And listen, you the perfect example outside of me, because they always hear me saying it. So I wanted to let somebody else say it for a change.
That's what's up. I mean, that's important, man. I mean, fathers do have a major impact on their kids, and I mean, we do what we got to do as men and support them.
Absolutely. Listen, DJ Focus, you tuned into the Fixx right here on SiriusXM, channel 154, Holy Culture Radio. We got to go to a quick break. Don't touch that dial. We coming right back with more from Cross. Keep it locked. You tuned into the Fixx. You know the Fixx is in.
Holy Culture Radio. We're not just background noise. We play the music that inspires you, because every song has a story. Christian hip hop and R&B music and talk on SiriusXM channel 154, 24 hours a day. Holy Culture Radio is changing the game. Discussions about faith, arts, vocation, and education. We talk about the real issues that affect our communities and work together to find solutions. Join the discussion at holyculture.net and be heard.
Welcome back, DJ Focus. You tune back into the Fixx right here on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. Listen, I still got the super talented, the exec, the man himself, Cross on the line with us. So Cross, talk about it. As you transition your life, as you start to work doing music, what made you start the record label? Like, what did you see you as an artist first and built on that and said, okay, it's a need for a record label, or did you always want to be that record label exec too as well?
No, I can't say I had that foresight to be a record label exec, but what I will tell you is I was kind of like every young cat out there, man, that just wanted to be a superstar and a famous rapper. And so that, for me, that's what I did. I focused on the artistry aspect of it. And any artist out there knows, man, that, once you really get into this thing, it's way bigger than the music, because you definitely have to have a strong business acumen, or you have to be connected to the business world. And so for me, it was trial and error. As an artist, I would, go to all of these different conferences and concerts around the country and tours and pay different fees. And I just kind of, through trial and error and just kind of being told no, man. I think I'm probably one of the most people who've been told no when it comes to building a Christian hip hop brand, man. But at the end of the day, I took all of those no's, man, and just made them lessons. And for me, I always knew that I was relentless and resilient. And so through trial and error, man, I learned the business of music, and I stuck with it, and I have longevity. I've been doing this for 20 years. And so for me, I wanted to be able to give the culture what I didn't have, which was a roadmap, and to be a trailblazer, and to be able to open and knock down some doors, man, so that these artists wouldn't have such a hard time, and they can really focus on their artistry. And so for me, that's how I got into the executive aspect of it, and opening, One Way Entertainment, which is my record label. And we branded out on a couple of different platforms to be able to do that, man, because as you mentioned earlier, I started a nonprofit, which was the Man Up Club, which is a mentor leadership organization for African American kids aged 13 to 23. And then on top of that, 4 years ago, we launched the National Christian Hip Hop Festival called Godflow. So that, the business aspect is just kind of part of my DNA.
No, that's good. And I appreciate you, taking people up under your wing and like really mentoring and showing people how to do the business. I think that's where we've been behind. We've caught up now. And to your point, when you said you think you've been told the most no's, I don't know. I might can have a conversation off air with you. My first 3 years of doing radio, I've been doing it for 8 years now, coming up on that. Yeah, 8 years now. So my first 3 years, I would argue, I promise you, the big names in Christian hip hop and gospel, they wouldn't even give me the time of day. They wouldn't even call me back, send an email back, or anything. So I had to continue to stay consistent, keep grinding. And I finally got that big, and then everybody calls me now. But I'm just saying, like, no, I've been there, brother, where you had them seasons where it's like, wait a minute, I'm bringing you on my platform. I'm highlighting you. Oh, forgive me. I am a DJ. I am breaking your record every single day, getting money in your pocket, and you can't even give me an interview. And we say we kingdom.
Right.
I was struggling with that. I'm be honest with you. I can see if we was worldly, but if we call ourselves followers of Jesus Christ, I have a different standard to me. Now, I ain't ask you for no money.
Well, you don't stand alone.
That's something
You don't
different.
stand alone in that. I mean, you're 100% right and you're 100% accurate. And sometimes, I mean, I think that as leaders in the body, men, we have to turn around now and just start teaching character, because that's what it boils down
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So listen, talk about it before we get into this festival. Talk about the project. You just dropped a project a few months back. Talk about the inspiration behind it and why this project now.
Well, for me, man, I actually dropped 2 of them. One of them was called the Gospel According to Soul, which was more of a soul
Okay.
record. Just because I was getting older, I'm like, man, I still got a message. I still got music in me. And so I wanted to just reach out to a different demographic, because obviously I wasn't trying to, appeal to the teens or what have you. And so I ended up dropping that project, which is more of like a gospel soul record. If you think of more your Otis Reddings, your Al Green, Curtis Mayfield, if those cats did gospel. So that album's out there. But here recently, I just done a new album a couple of months ago called Cross My Heart. And the
Yeah.
reason I came back and done that album, man, is because I definitely had some more to say. And as I was listening to the new culture, man, I'm not hearing a lot of God and a lot of gospel in the music. I'm hearing what's hip and what's really nice and what's current and what's trend, and maybe dropping God's name a couple of times. But as far as substance, I wasn't hearing it. And then considering the fact that, like I said, first, your family's your first ministry, I wanted to be able to pass down something to my kids of substance. It's one thing, it's like I tell them, man, it's one thing to live a life to be successful, and you can do that as an artist, but it's another thing to live a life of significance. And significance to me is when you can leave a legacy or impact people when you're not around. And so for me, that's why I done the new album, man, because I wanted to be able to leave my kids a legacy, and I wanted them to have some substance that, of what, and it's not about being the best, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it is about being thorough and being intentful when it comes to spreading the gospel. And so we don't want to compromise on that, man. So I just wanted to be able to tap into it while they were doing it, so I could show them some practical things in a practical way when it comes to making kingdom music.
So I'm glad you brought that up. And this is a conversation we constantly have on the show when you talk about, some of the vets or old school within CHH compared to the new up and coming. Do you think it's a lack of disconnect between vets like yourself and some of the new, where, because I feel like it needs to be some type of discipleship? I think some of the young don't know how to put the scriptures or say God more, or within their music, because a lot of them probably are not studying on the level that we study on, just being fair. So they don't even know how to articulate that in that, but they are in the culture. They know what's going on with the latest trends and what people like about church and what they dislike about church. So do you think it's a disconnect, or a medium where we can meet to where they need to be discipled more, or is it just, you just think it is what it is?
Yeah, I think it is a disconnect, but I think it's from a dual perspective, man, because I think the responsibility lies on both sides of the table. I think it's incumbent upon us to be able to pass down that information, that knowledge, those bumps and bruises that we got, and that discipleship of actually studying the word to show yourself approved. I think that we need to do a better job as older guys to be able to pass that down. But at the same time, there's a responsibility that, these young artists have to really to get that knowledge and soak up that information, what I'm saying, and really be able from that standpoint. But then the other side of that is, when we came along, it was very important for us to have a covering and to be connected with a church, which is where we would get some of that discipleship. And so, I don't know how many of these guys are really, in church and really disciplined and operating in humility where they can learn, from a pastor or what have you. But even if they're not getting it from their direct pastor, this is the first generation now where they can get it from Christian hip hop artists who have come before them, who speak the same language. So I think it's a shared responsibility. I think we got to do more conferences. I think we got to have people who are at the forefront of this movement to be speaking from that perspective too, who have an influential voice.
No, that's good. Listen, before we get to the festival, talk about working on kingdom business. With your kids and everything that went into that. Because bring us up to date with what you did with the film, what your kids did with the film, and just too as well. What was your outlook when you saw the finished product?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kingdom Businessman came through, a long-term relationship that I have with some friends in the LA market who are heavy into the film and television market. And it's just a matter of my kids standing on my shoulders, man. Is basically what it is because, these relationships you cultivate them over a decade or two. It's not something that happens overnight. And when people see your consistency, they know they want to work with you because you're going to be around tomorrow. And so for me, that's what it was. I'm always looking for opportunities just from a business standpoint to elevate the gospel. And obviously, I want to be a person who invests and pour into my kids because number one, they've been faithful, but number two, they've made great decisions. And so I want to reward that. I don't want to just throw opportunities to them just for the sake of throwing opportunities to them because there's a responsibility that comes with that. And so I was able to leverage some relationships, man, in Hollywood. I was one of the um, producers for music on all of the Preacher of LA series and Detroit and Atlanta and what have you through those relationships. And then they just
Okay.
grew from that. And so there was an opportunity for me to get System Lil Bro connected to Kingdom Business. And so they done a feature and they appeared on the show as themselves, which is super dope. And they're being
Yes.
introduced as, that Christian hip
Yeah.
hop
Yeah.
group. So we're excited to see that. That's coming out in October on BET. And man, when I just saw the finished product like last week, and I was really blown away, man. It was one of those moments where you can actually truly exhale for a minute. You know how it is. You work and you work and you work, but you really don't necessarily get to see the
Yes.
true impact, the fruits of your labor. And so when I got to see the final cut of the BET show, it was just one of those moments, brief moments where I could just pause, take a deep breath, and be like, okay, God, he really got us. And he's like, he's really showing us that he appreciates what we're doing.
That's good. So listen, talk about the God Flow Festival. Let's be very clear. What I love about you, I can tell you are looking to bridge that gap. I think we've been divided too long. No, it's okay. So that's what the
good.
Fixx is about. So listen, we connect perfectly because they call us the black sheep. We don't care. We not too far gone to the left or the right. We right in the middle. I've been watching you for a while. Like I say, I think the first time I noticed the God Flow Festival, you brought T.I. out to talk to the young band. Speak to the importance of that. I know you brought Cedric the Entertainer out too as well. We know this year you got Black China. So speak to that a little bit about bridging that gap, building these relationships, because I think to your point, you brought this up. You said it with Christian hip hop artists, but I think it's also with mainstream artists. How can we hold them accountable to a standard that they don't know if they're not being discipled? So how do we get them to a disciple place if we don't build relationships and connect somehow? Because people, always talking, but build the relationship and let God be God. So speak to that, what you've been doing for, 4 or 5 years now.
Man.
Come
I
on.
think that, well, first of all, it's just a matter of not forgetting where you came from. For me, I came from the streets. You feel me? I was out in the culture, and what people fail to realize or they get amnesia about in the kingdom of God is like the process. I got baptized, I got filled with the Holy Spirit, but it was a process for me to, really get in the kingdom and operate in the kingdom. I mean, that took a while, and God still ain't finished working on me. I still got issues and this, that, and the other, and I still, I got friends in the kingdom, but I also got friends on the other side. And so the thing is, if you had just thrown me away because I was in transition, then I never would even, been in the kingdom the way I am and even having any impact at all. And so for me, man, like I said, I like to bridge. You spoke it well. I like to bridge the gap, and that's why I brought Ti because people all of a sudden assume, or they automatically assume that because we bring these secular artists, that we're always wanting the secular artists to co-sign and stamp what we're doing in the kingdom, as if it gives us some sort of street credibility or validity. But at the same time, God is God and the kingdom is the kingdom, and you never know how what you're doing in the kingdom is going to impact that other person who may not be in the kingdom. And if they do get it impacted, then they have a platform where they can go out and spread the gospel much quicker and much faster. We can't get caught up on the platforms in which God has given us influence, but if we have the influence from a kingdom perspective, then we utilize it. I have relationships, with Ti. I have relationships with Cedric the Entertainer, and I have a relationship, with people who are connected to Black China, and certainly so for me. But I am intentional about a mission that God has given me that I don't expect for everybody to understand, and they don't have to understand it. But as long as I understand it, and what that perspective is in a nutshell is that number one, we have to expand the Christian hip hop platform, and that's what I'm called to, is to expand that platform. At the same time, I'm also called to sharing the gospel outside of the four walls of the church, into the streets, into the culture, into the community. But at the same time, I'm also called to have the gospel impact the secular market, and to also give people who are in the secular realm an opportunity to have a voice within the kingdom, because that's where they can get their footprint. So when Ti come, or Said come, or Black China come in, we're supposed to be able to feed them as well. And so, for me, that's what it's about. And at the end of the day, I am not trying to attract people who are already saved. My goal is to reach people who are unsaved. And so they know these people who are considered, quote, secular artists. But okay, and when I was saved, I still listen to secular artists. And when I was unsaved, I listened to them. So it's not like they don't have nothing good to say. And you don't know who God can use to bring his word, man. And at the end of the day, these are the people that the majority culture is familiar with. And if they're willing and have an open heart to want to share the gospel, who am I, or who is anybody to say who God can use or who he can't use?
The mic has been dropped. I hope y'all all heard that, because that's enough said. Listen, tell the people about the festival coming up. I know it's coming
Absolutely.
up next month. Tell them about the lineup, super sour lineup, and everything
Yeah,
you got
man,
going
the
on with it.
festival is on Sunday, July 23rd. We picked a Sunday because we wanted people to go ahead and get the word and get out of church and then get to the festival. It's at the historic First Avenue, which is Prince's nightclub, where he shot Purple Rain. It's downtown Minneapolis. The doors open at 4 o'clock, and we're going to run it till about 10. Obviously, we got Black China coming. She's going to be talking about her transformation and what all she went through, and talking about, her whole life with her OnlyFans and being with the Kardashians, and, and how she, how God called her and she transitioned with her implants and tattoos, and how she took them out and took the tattoos off, and just kind of where she's at. Like, she's going to speak to the culture, and she's going to speak for real. And then I also invited about 15 other Christian hip hop artists from around the country that's just going to grace the stage and do what they do and do what they've been called to do. You know what I'm saying? We got so many, there's so many artists that we got. Obviously, we have our artists, which is System LeBro, but we also have Angie Rose, we got Mission, we got Range the Artist, man, we got Clifford Gray. It's the names go on and on as far as, who we have that's a part of this. Portia Love, Scooty Wop, Not Clyde, and it's just a whole host of artists, man.
No, that's what's up. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a great time. Listen, please, get to this event. If you anywhere close, this is worth taking a ride to get to this event. It's going to be a powerful event. Listen, tell the people across how they can connect with you, follow you on all your platforms, as well as introduce one of your bangers off your last project.
Off the last project, man. A song we're excited about is called Fade, and it's featuring my son Titus. We locked ourselves in a hotel, man, for about 2 weeks and just wrote the record and produced the record and put it out. But the song Fade really speaks strong to the culture. Y'all can get at us, man. If you want to get to the festival, you can get your tickets online at godflowfest.com. You'll see the lineup and everything that we're doing in that regard. If you got young men that are around the country that you believe need mentorship, you can reach out to us at themanupclub.org, which is our website, for that. If you're interested in music or what have you, Christian hip hop music, the label is onewayentertainment.com. Just use the number one. If you want to get at me on my social media, it's just Hey Cross, but it's HeyXross. So those are the places in which you can get me, man. I'm kind of easy to find, though.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say you're easy, but a lot of people just don't know about you. So I'm grateful that you came on and chopped it up with us this morning. Listen, we got to go to a break. We're about to play this banger right now from Cross. We'll be right back. Keep it locked. You're tuned into The Fixx. You know The Fixx is in.